Good morning, church. Happy Sabbath. Happy day. God is good all the time. You're gonna get drill. Yeah, I'm just checking on your attentiveness. We are on lesson number 1, and this is the last year for this 2024. And the lesson is entitled "Sign Points the Way." I'm not going to teach this morning. But if the members of the class decides to not answer my questions or decides not to have a discussion, then I'll ask questions. I don't teach, I ask questions. Listen, I don't know where I should start from because there is so much that I will have to talk this lesson. The author of this lesson. Who is the author of this lesson? Who is the person who wrote this? Because there is quite a number. You need? Okay. Yeah, but of course, historically speaking, could it be James? Could it be, but James cannot be because he was beheaded by Herod. So the only person we can think of that he wrote this is John, the one who wrote the Gospel, the one who wrote the 3 epistles, the last book of the Bible. And he was the youngest. And Jesus loved him. Why do you think that Jesus loved him? Gary, why do you think that Jesus loved him? I don't know. I don't want to say that Jesus loved him more than the rest of the people. But he had something that had Jesus gone down to him. There is something special about him than the rest of his disciples. I'm not saying that the rest of the disciples were not good guys, but there was something special about John. He was a fisherman.
He describes himself as the one Jesus loved.
Yeah, but you describe yourself. But Jesus loved him actually. There could be a reason as to why Jesus loved him.
Well, Jesus loved them all. Sometimes you have one that's a little bit closer to you.
Yes, like you is very close, and probably his commitments towards Jesus was special.
I might be really long on the feet.
Brother of Jesus. So when you look at the first 4 books of the New Testament, that is the synoptic gospel, why is it that John is different than Matthew, Mark, and Luke? Why is it that John was special? That's why I don't like doing the lesson.
The first one to drop everything and follow him?
He had a personal interest because he was his brother.
Okay? Personal interest. Why was then the rest of, I'm not saying the rest of them we need not to look at them, but there was the unique aspect of John and his writings.
Tell you what 3 a.m. said. There's a couple of things. That's the last book written in the Bible. Also, he doesn't have the parables like the
Okay?
Or Jesus, he has conversations with people, like Nicodemus, the woman at the well, Timothy, having Titus and other things. So
Mhm. When you read, if you go back, we have started reading it, and you can prove me like what she has said is correct. He didn't use parables, but what did he use? If the rest of the three used the parables, what did he use?
Live witness.
Hmm?
Live witness.
Okay.
He was a live witness.
Okay.
Since you're not teaching, question for you. Was John baptized or was John Mark baptized? Why?
I really can't tell. That's a very question.
No, it does.
Sal.
I think I remember reading somewhere that the Bible that John was the last Bible written. The reason he wrote it is because there was a lot of false teaching coming in at
Okay.
the time.
Yeah, like
And he wrote it to kind of emphasize that Jesus is the Son of God and the Messiah. And then used it by referring back to the miracles that happened in Exodus from a similarity.
Okay. Actually, Sarah has given a very interesting perspective. Okay. Because you see now that the heresies, the people were bringing their own doctrines. So John was emphasizing, he was talking about, God and his son. Because there were false teaching just creeping into the church. So John had to come out and, when he was writing, he came out and you can be able to see very explicit in his statements. He talks about, the son. So how is Jesus? That's why my class might not be interesting. It's not a normal lesson. It's a lesson, but we try to get it to understand it deeper. So what do you think? So how is Jesus referred in Matthew? There's a way Jesus is referred in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those four. Jesus is represented, or like he is identified in different ways. When you begin from the book of Matthew, we have talked about, have you ever heard of, actually Matthew talks about Jesus as what? The Lion of Judah. Okay? What about Mark? Suffering servant of God. Okay? What about but the way he speaks about Jesus? Have you ever heard about the Son of Man? Luke talks about the Son of Man. And now John talks about what? The Son of God. The Son. And that's where you see the emphasis. See what my Father does. You see all probably the lesson didn't give us that introduction. So it's to understand how John was writing. Now, this is the interesting part. And probably the lesson didn't capture it. Now, I want to put this picture. Okay? The book of John, let's depict it as having yellow, like draw a circle and see the book of Jonas like 65% yellow. Now, if you go the other three, let them be blue. I want you to see something so interesting. So you see, John is yellow, 65%. So John is only 35% blue. Am I communicating? I'm not very good in maths, but I want to picture that point. See now, John is yellow 65%. He is only 35% of the rest of the other three gospels: Mark, Luke, and Matthew. Yeah, like a. So you can only see that he's only 35%. Now go to like Mark. Mark is 100% blue. He has nothing to do any story of John at all. Now if you go to Luke, is only 35% of John, of the 5%. So you can be able to see how distinct John is in his writings. That's just something that I want you to see how it was. Now, there are so many things. So what are some of the stories John focused himself? There are quite a number of stories that you only found them in John, but not the other one. Changing water to wine at the wedding of Cana and Galilee. Yeah, that man's son, yeah, that guy. Yep, that is Capernaum. So the woman at the well, the good, okay. Nicodemus, yes. Nathaniel, yep. Now looking, the class is talking. Healing the man at the pool at Bethesda, that guy for 38 good years. Yeah, Lazarus and sisters. You talked about Thomas and then Pilate and also Peter. So stories were very unique, quite unique. Now let's go to the miracle of the wedding. Let's go to John chapter 2, verse 1 to 11. John chapter 2, verse 1 to 11. So that's why I want my class, people to be engaged in my class. I don't want to talk. Okay, let's go to John chapter 2, verse 1 to 11. Somebody to help us to read. If you have the word, whatever. Okay. Loud and clear. Okay.
And the third day was a marriage in Cana of Galilee. The mother was there. Both these were called the disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said unto him, they have no wine. He said unto her, Woman, where you with thee? My hour is not yet come. The mother said unto the servant, Whosoever he said unto you, do it. And then were set there 6 water pots and stone after the manner of the purifying of Jews. And being 2 or 3 persons seated, he said to them, Fill the water pots with water, and they filled cups manifested for his glory, and his disciples believed on him. After this, he went down to Lebanon, he and his mother and his brethren, and his disciples, and they continued there many days. The Jews, however, was at hand, and Jesus went to Jerusalem, and found in the temple those that sold off sheep, doves, and chargers of money of city. And when Jesus had made a scourge and so forth, he drove them all out of the temple.
You are reading a different one.
Yeah, we're just 11.
You're supposed to stop at 11. Okay. That's good. So, what first sign did Jesus do? Now we are seeing the book of John, and we are seeing a wedding. So, what was the first sign that Jesus performed? So, changing the water into wine.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, when I read this story,
Okay.
first of all, you read all the books of the Bible, you go through the Bible and you read all the things, all the miracles. There's common denominators that things, but most of them is he prays before he gets it. Now, understand, anything that Jesus does has to be the very best. It can't be mediocre. So what Gillibrand is saying, this is the best wine he's ever tasted. Now, the assumption was it was wine. But Jesus said, take this water and give it to them. Same way as the woman at the well. He says, would you like to have water that you would never thirst again? So what is the real principle behind what they're talking about? Now, why would Jesus give these people something that make them stupid?
It wasn't,
Well, wait a minute. Look at Noah. What happened to Noah? Noah had a whole vineyard, and he knew better, but yet he still got drunk off his own vineyard. So there's something deeper. And when I read the story, I
wine
understand.
can be juice, and wine is juice, but it can also be fresh or fermented. This is clearly fresh. No question.
But Jesus never called it.
No, it's yeah.
Okay. That's why we need to understand the Gospel of John. And I can tell you, as a teacher, you find yourself at the crossroad. So you have to go back and ask God to guide you. So, the wine. It's not the way we know wine today. That is something that we have to get. This is the human made, the concept of wine. Well, it can be, but you see, the human nature has distorted the meaning of wine itself. And I think our pastor is going to make a presentation about praising of wine and all those things on the visit he made to Israel. You will understand how they used to praise the wine, the olives, and all. You will get to understand that. But wine, as we know, is bad. But now the wine Jesus is talking about, the freshness in this wine, the water, and he turned it into wine. And we know the science behind wine. The longer it stays, the better it becomes, they say. Okay? That's what they say. I don't know. The longer it stays, the more it becomes, it makes people, But now the wine Jesus was talking about, it's the freshness, the water. And you see, Jesus is a form of what? If you read John, Jesus is talking about. Now I know some people can come here and you believe them, And you cling to Moses so much, but yet Moses wrote about me. They don't want to believe Jesus, who Moses wrote about, but they want to believe much to Moses than Jesus himself. So that's why they're stuck with the law of Moses. Now, the wine, to wine.
Why people think it's okay to drink wine now?
That's the reason as people think that it's good to drink wine, you know.
All right, here's my argument.
Okay.
First of all, when you study Samson, his mother was instructed not to touch anything. Okay?
I know to drink anything.
Neither was Samson. Okay? And in Proverbs, there are numerous texts about how
It makes you a stupor.
wine does not flow to us. Why would God do that? He would not do that. He doesn't promote it. He would not do it.
Sal, go on, Sal.
Well, there's some important things that probably need to be brought up. First of all, this was a wedding, and Jesus wasn't a big fan for some places he was vaguely or distantly related to the people that were getting married, to their family. And it would be a great embarrassment to have a wedding feast and run out of wine. Whether it's fermented or not. I just put it say wine period at this point. So see where it asks Jesus to do something, because obviously, she knew something was unique to their son. He responded saying it really wasn't his time yet. This time he started happening, performing miracles and starting his I guess his journey that he had come here to do. But because it was his mother, he went ahead and performed the miracle of wine. So when you think about this, when they were getting married, he didn't ask Jesus to do something for them. It was somebody who interceded for them. So he'll do something. He'll make a miracle. So interceding for people is something, that causes miracles. That can, because he will listen. And then I know, I was a Catholic, and one of the strong beliefs of Catholic, because they got the Virgin Mary statue and all that, they believe that a mother has quite a bit of influence on her son. So that's why they kind of like the mother. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm just going to bring those things out.
Time to call it. It's not my time. And right away she responds, you guys do this.
Do what
You
he
guys,
said.
yeah, do what he says. So she's like telling him, I'm not accepting no. You guys do what he says.
I really believe there's something deeper here, because Jesus has said that his time has come, and the water represents that he was baptized with water, the Holy Spirit descended upon him, and his time has not come. When we take communion, we drink wine that represents Christ's blood. So yes, when he said, my time has not yet come, there is really a deeper.
I wanted people to stretch their minds. Now, Gary brought something. I want to reconcile a few things here. Gary brought something about water, how important it is. Drink this water and you what? Thirst. Okay? No more. So in describing this miracle, there's a statement I want to make. John directs our minds from water, a symbol of purification, that's John 2:6, to the new wine, which John is trying now to actually direct us, a symbol of redemption. The wine. Drink this wine. If you go to 1 Corinthians 11:25, which says, 1 Corinthians 11, likewise, also the cup after the meal, saying, this cup is new covenant, effected by my blood. Do this as often as you drink it as a memorial to me. So it was not just wine making people happy and all that. No, it was pointing to the people the story of redemption, what Jesus is going to do for them. So let's not be carried away with wine, because wine, so let's get the deeper meaning of that wine. Now let's transition to the miracle of this officer who came to Jesus. Let's go to John chapter 4, verse number 46 to 54. Somebody to read for us. John chapter 4, verse number 46 to 54.
So Jesus came again into Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain old whose son was sick in Capernaum. When he heard that Jesus was come out of Judea into the Galilee, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Then said Jesus unto him, except ye see signs and wonders, you will not believe. The nobleman said unto him, Sir, come down, ere my child die. Jesus said unto him, go thy way, thy son liveth. And the man believed the words that Jesus had spoken to him, and he went his way. And as he was now going down, his servants met him and told him, saying, thy son liveth. Then inquired he of them the hour when he began to amend. And they said unto him, yesterday at the seventh hour the fever left him. So the one knew that it was the same hour in which Jesus said unto him, thy son liveth. And he himself believed that his whole house. This is again the second miracle that Jesus did, and when he was come out of Judea and into Galilee.
Another miracle that Jesus performed. When you those verses, there's something which came into your mind.
Time that Jesus has created a miracle, the glory went to who? Now, if you listen to the event when he tasted the wine, where did he put the glory to? The glory did not go to Jesus. It went to who? The person who put on the event. So, I don't have a miracle. You're not putting the glory of God to Jesus. It's not a miracle to me. Gary.
What do you call that?
But he did not want people to recognize that he was the one that was performing the miracle. Because, like I said, my time has not yet come. He did not want people to give him glory for something that he was doing. He wanted people to come to him of their own, on their own, rather than because of the miracle.
Okay. So when you read the story of this officer, there are things that we see taking place. Because that miracle is not instant The miracle was not instant.
Man had to believe.
That was important. That officer knew that the life of his son was only in the hands of Jesus, because he had reached a desperate point that he was seeking Jesus to come and make sure that the son would live on. So this guy belief is important. This guy believed that Jesus is going to do it. He trusted that Jesus was going to do it. That's why you see this guy is not rushing to go back home. He had to go home the following day. So there is belief, trust in Jesus. That was a strong point of faith. Because you see now, your son is sick. As a human being, the next possible thing that you're going to do, you have to rush home and see how your son is going through. But this guy spent a night because he believed that Jesus is going to make his son. And when you read the Bible, the very Jesus said, your son will live. From that particular moment, when he went home, they told him, from that point, and now the guy started reflecting what happened. Okay? Any other thoughts?
I was just thinking, what a powerful belief he had in Jesus. I mean, he asked him to, save his son. How do we ask the Lord for things and then just oh well, it'll happen enough. But this man truly, truly believed, and he didn't rush home. He knew that God was going to answer his prayer.
That is strong belief. Like you go to verse number 50, it says, at Jesus' words and without any evidence of the miracle, he believed. And remember what I said last week. Do you remember what I said last week? You believe before you see. But the world has conditioned hearts. You see, you believe.
Yeah.
But Jesus works in this. You believe first, and then you will see it. And that is exactly what this officer did. He believed for even seeing his son, that his son is okay. That's a challenge to us today. The world has also conditioned us. Like, I have to see that you are capable of doing it before I can trust that you can do it to me.
But there's an element of desperation here. Like the thief on the cross,
Mhm.
when he chose Jesus and said, prepare a place for me as well. Then some say that belief, some is desperation. He has no more options. The options are all used.
Okay. And usually it's beyond is when you start to see the manifestation and the hand of God. That's what happens. That was a good. Let's transition to the miracle. That is John chapter 5 and verse 1. Verse 1 2. And you are the next. I have one more to read for us. So at least we are cut today. John.
After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. So there was in Jerusalem by the sea a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For the angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water was made well from whatever disease he had. Now a certain man was there who had infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he already had been in that condition a long time, he said to him, do you want to be made well? Then the sick man answered him, Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool and stir it up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me. Jesus said unto him, Rise, take up your bed and walk. Immediately the man was made well, took up his bed and walked. That day was the Sabbath.
And that day was the Sabbath. There are a number of things here. And there is the elephant in the room. That Jesus is healing on the Sabbath. And it was not an emergency. Under their laws, and it was not an emergency because this guy has been there for 38 good years. And you see now, there is going to be a problem with Jesus. But before we go that, this is a man who has been there for 38 good years. It was a pool. Do you think this pool was it a very important thing to them, wanting guys to be healed or what? It was just a superstition that this is a good place, if you get back in there, you're gonna be healed.
It raises a question, but at the same time, there is
Okay.
the thought that it had been going on, and just if people going there, something that had to have happened for the people that are now, that there must be proof that the pool has healed.
Okay. Those are some of the superstitions you find. People believed, people say, oh, probably it can heal you, and people put their interest, their mind, and probably they think, oh, you can do it. But in the actual sense, he didn't, because 38 years was not that lucky.
Wasn't able to make it.
Psychological thing.
Uh-huh.
Person figures they can get into the school and they will be healed. Well, who said they weren't healed? Because everyone else was disappointed because they didn't get there first. Maybe emphasizing the disappointment more than the success.
Mm-hmm.
Could be psychological.
Yeah, it's a psychological thing, Yep. Okay.
Yeah, go back to my daily life too. Sometimes we pray and sometimes we don't get the answer we want. But this man, he had been ill for many, many years and he didn't even hesitate. When Jesus said, rise and walk, he didn't say, how come or where. He rose and walked. Do we have that belief that whatever we ask God is going to happen now?
Okay. You see now, it was a cultural thing, like if that pool, you'll be healed, So they had really put so much trust in that pool than anything else. But you see what Jesus told this guy, this guy said, I needed someone to put me, but I've not gotten somebody to put in the. But when Jesus listened to this guy, he didn't tell him, I'll take you to the pool. He did what is contrary. Yeah, it's all gone.
Well, that is surprising that, the police was there, especially if you know, there's an angel used to come and scare the water. But it was just like if you go back to the Ark of the Covenant, you know, when the Jewish people started believing that not so much God and what it meant, but that the Ark had some kind of special powers in itself, you know,
Okay.
they got captured.
Okay.
Because there were certain things that, like I said, they forgot about what God wanted them to do and how God wanted them to act. So, you know, I can understand that, but here's another concept that really kind of leaps out at me is the fact that in this case, God or Jesus didn't wait for someone to ask him to heal him, he went and asked them. He said, "You wish to be well." Amen.
Okay. That's a very interesting, what Jesus does. Jesus is a medical missionary, and that's why we have the concept of even medical missionaries and all that. He meets people and needs, you know. It doesn't like you have to take, like doctors, you have to take, Jesus goes to those people who need his services. But there is also one thing, there is one aspect also about the Ark of the Covenant. It's God who created the Ark of the Covenant. Now, when you elevate something that it was created by God more than God, what is that? God created the pool, but no, people were putting more emphasis to the pool than to the creator of that pool.
I think too, it's, like with the art, our positive thinking, I think that's how idols how they started with the idol. We manifest stuff with our own heads, and we think, like we pray and we get it, and then they pray to an idol and they get something, so they start to believe it. When really it wasn't the idol that did it at all; it was their own manifest. But they put faith in it instead of realizing it's really them manifested it, not the idol.
Yep.
And that's crazy how they could see God and still have faith in something else.
Yep. Sometimes you think that you are worshiping, but like you're praising and worshiping God, but you put worship to be more important than the person who instituted the worship. And we have to be very careful. Now, let me ask the class the question. So, what is the relationship between sense and sin? I know you read the lesson. I struggled with that. So, what is the relationship, okay, between sin and sickness? I struggled with that. I struggled with that to understand that, and I need to read more about that, and I need divine intervention on this.
But Gary is right that not all sin is sin. There's some things that are definitely genetic, and you get sick because your grandmother and your great grandmother sort of passed down the line. But there's another way of thinking about this: is that sin, if you are thinking and doing the wrong thing, that it does have a detriment to your body. You can't continue to live in sin and be healthy because it will take a toll on your body. So there's two different aspects, and it behooves us to think about them.
It can be forgiven, and then it would be healed.
I'm gonna just say, I think that all sickness is because of sin. But it doesn't mean that you're sick because you sin. I don't know if that station, so it's not a punishment, but the root cause of sin, because how would we eliminate, we could do one thing in this world to eliminate all sickness, what would we do? Take away sin, that's what Christ is doing, right? With the second coming and everything else. So the root cause of sickness, pain, suffering, death, sin. However, if I'm sick, it doesn't mean that it was a direct relationship because I am sick, like I did something wrong and now I'm being punished.
I think that is very clear to me. Because you see, and we can back it up. Remember, you see, when Adam was created, he was given what? Dominion on everything. Not he was given dominion. He named plants, he named everything. But when he went against God's command, we see what happened. So any person who is born, you have that DNA, you know. Just look even at a small child. If you want to see how, those things, we got them genetic into our system. But as he said, you see, Jesus, if we accept Jesus, so we now start to deal with those things. Because even a small kid, when he's born, when they grow up, now he sees a toy from another kid. You're going to see the kid just getting it. You didn't train your child to take that toy from the other kid. Whenever you see, they get excited and they want to get it. You see how sin, self, you can see all those things manifested. So it's just our DNA, you see. But that's what Jesus is doing for us. That's what Jesus did so that he can be able to get that. And let's move to the same. Let's move to Wednesday, I think. On Wednesday. Joe, you have to say?
First of all, we are born with sin.
Mm-hmm.
Sin is the offense in the sight of God.
Okay. Now let's go move to John chapter 5, 10 to 16. John chapter 5, 10 to 16. She can help us to. Yeah.
The Jews said unto him, Who is here? It is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to carry your bed. He answered them, He who made me well said to me, Take your bed and rest. Then they asked him, Who is the man who said to you, Take up your bed and walk? The one who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn a multitude being in that place. Afterwards, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, See, you have been made well. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you. The man then told Jesus that it was Jesus who had made him well. For this reason, the Jews persecuted Jesus and sought to kill him, because he healed on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, Father has been working until now, and I have been working. Therefore, the Jews sought all the more to kill him because he had not only broken the Sabbath, but also said that God was his Father and he made himself equal with God. Agree? No.
16.
I got that.
All right. It's all right. So, what came into your mind when you're reading those 6 verses?
I think the Sabbath day is the best day to do a miracle.
I think that it was showing like the Pharisees, Sabbath is a gift, and the Pharisees turned it in, oh, you can't do that, blah, 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 and God showed them that, no, we can heal, we can worship, and we can, it's not about putting rules on it, it's about resting and worship, not, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. Let's enjoy it and be merry and happy about it. Try not to judge others.
Okay. So,
There was,
uh-huh.
there's one thing, and it always puzzled me about this story. I realized that when Jesus healed the man, he was doing good, and it was lawful to do good on the Sabbath. But I never really figured out the fact that he told.
Honest and will always be at church. So this is where things are confusing because I've just been taught that